couple of runners in the 1800 metre turf handicap, Charlie, starting with Aquarian. Was it, I suppose he's just a really fun syndicate horse to have had last year?
Yeah, very much so. He has a habit of being very slowly away, and in 3 runner races at Nottingham he could get away with that, but on the dirt last week it wasn't quite as easy for him to overcome that slow start. Royston's had him in the stalls here twice in the last week, and if he breaks on terms, which hopefully he will do, he's been good in his barrier trials, hopefully we'll see a better performance. But yeah, he made life very hard for himself starting like that last week, but the ability's there, but he can be a bit of a tricky customer on his day. And
seeing him in the mornings, he just looks a horse that's full of energy, full of life.
Yeah, sometimes a bit too much so.
Yeah.
He can be quite keen in his work, so Emma's been doing a good job with him, keeping a lid on him, but I think he's enjoying it out here. And like I say, look, he had a fantastic year last year at home. He progressed up to a mark in the low hundreds, and a nice opportunity for him to come out and run out for these kind of sort of prizes. But he needs to put everything together and put his best foot forward. And
given his pedigree, presumably it was always in the back of your mind to try the dirt at some point.
Exactly, that's why we tried the dirt first time. But you know, we probably didn't get a fair reflection of whether he handled it or not because he started so poorly. But we'll go back on turf tomorrow, going back to what we know, and see how he goes there, and we can try turf or dirt going forward.
Ventura Night, a similar scenario really, just another really fun syndicate horse for you last year.
A fantastic horse for Midland Park, you know, great owners of ours now, and you know, a horse that progressed through the ranks from a mark sort of in the early 90s at the start of the year into the hundreds, and you know, got to a level that he was worthy of coming out here. He ran okay first time. You know, it was a bit difficult for him quite soon off the plane. I think he's looking a bit better in himself now, and hopefully he can take a step forward and be competitive tomorrow night.
Looking at his form, this represents a slight drop in trip. Do you think he's better around this than 2000?
It's funny because his best form at home is really over a mile actually, but when you watch his race last week, he almost looks as if even the mile and a quarter looked a bit sharp for him last week. But knowing his form like we do, you think, well, surely he can't need a mile and a half, because he's got a lot of good form at a mile. So I think that's maybe just a bit of his temperament now. He's becoming a bit more lethargic in his races and needing a bit more coaxing along. So but I think 9 furlongs should be absolutely fine for him.
And both horses are entered in the Lincoln RC. Is that in the back of your mind for when you go back to the UK?
Yes. For all our record here hasn't been quite as good as we would like over the past few years, one thing we have had a lot of success with is horses straight off the plane when they get home. So the plan for those horses is to go home sort of 2nd, 3rd week in March, and that's definitely something we'll have in our minds. Then Ventura Night would need unusually fast ground for the time of year. He's definitely better on top of the ground. Aquarium's quite versatile, but yeah, they could both be. It's nice to have a good target for them as soon as they get off the plane at home, because we do find it's a benefit to them at that time of year. And then
you got Love Dreams out quickly over 1400. Just did a bit too much last week.
He did, yeah. He can be a bit like that. He's yeah, another fairly exuberant character. He does a bit too much basically, and yeah, just a bit free early doors last week. We considered actually coming back to 6 furlongs this week. Obviously there's the 2 turf races this week over 6 and 7. We actually would rather have really ran over 6, but it looked quite considerably a tougher race compared to the 7 furlong. So we'll go over 7. He's got plenty form at home over 7 and a mile, so it shouldn't really be an issue, but he just needs to be a little more relaxed through the first half of the race, and hopefully he'll finish better.